This is the side of operations people don't see. It's not just about the end result. It's early mornings, late nights, tough conversations, and decisions that don't have easy answers. It's what it actually takes to build something that lasts. Hosted by Coach Kent and Amy, this is where behind-the-scenes operations meets practical ownership, where we talk about the systems, the standards, the mistakes, and the lessons behind being entrepreneurs. No fluff, no highlight reel, just the work behind the work. This is Iron Ops.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Iron Operations for episode 3. I'm Amy Tipper, and today's episode is a fun throwback, one for both myself and my co-host Kent Aitchison, because today we're sitting down with a great friend of ours, James Kwan. We are going down memory lane today to talk about some of the glory days of summer swimming in the early 2000s and 2010s. We're talking about the highs and lows of coaching any sport, and a big breakdown into team culture. James and I swam together back in the day, and Kent was the guy coaching us both in the exact same training group. And if you spent any time in Region F during that era, you know exactly what the energy and the grind was like, but also how special the Lethbridge Orcas Summer Swim Club was during that time. We've evolved our fitness and business spaces, and we wanted to look at some of the ways that the culture of sports shapes the way we lead people today. We get into James's journey from the pool to the coaching deck, how to use gamification to keep athletes motivated, and we take a critical look at youth sports and truly how some experiences can shape lives. If you want to know how to build a team culture that people will actually fight to be a part of, this is the blueprint. Let's get into it. All right. Well, this is episode 3 now of Iron Operations. We are expanding our reach into guests, and we have our very first guest, a well-known face to us, James Kwan,
also known as
Kwan Sanity.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So we have a lot we want to chat about today, a lot that James and I have in common because we swam under Kent in high school at Lethbridge Orcas Summer Swim Club. I feel like we shared a lot of learned experiences and lessons just from kind of sharing that experience together. But then it evolved over time after I left because James then became the coach of Lethbridge Orcas Summer Swim Club. So lots to chat about today. We usually just kind of start with a bit of a recap of the week. So, Kent, how's your week been?
good. Just I got a puppy, and I'm using like AI as like a chronicling active training guide to make sure I can properly balance his life. And I'm been back and forth from the gym a lot more, and like not at the gym as much because I don't want to leave him too long so he doesn't pee in his crate. I'm just trying to extend that time and figure that out. So that
Nice.
disrupts me a little bit, but I knew what I was getting in for. It's great. He's a good, calm little boy. It just needs, I just want him to get comfortable in that crate. If I leave him too long and he pees in it, that really sets it back.
True.
Yeah.
I definitely remember crate training, and it was not fun for the first little bit, but he's very cute, so I guess it makes it worth it.
Yeah, he's good.
James, how was your week? What goes on in your daily life, and what, I guess, just highlight what you do, where you are, and how sports still integrated in your life, because this is kind of sports based.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm a pediatric dentist in Edmonton. So I work an 8 to 4, and I basically try not to get my fingers bit off during that time while fixing teeth in kids age 0 to 15. So there's lots of little ones, lots of little biters around. And outside of that, for my sports, I'm juggling a little bit with training for pickleball still. I'm playing at a fairly high level for a sport that's not really some don't consider it a true sport yet, but it is. It's getting there. And I do a lot of running too. So I guess on the weekend it was pouring rain, and I got out for a 25K zone 2 run. So it's kind of how I'm living my life these days.
Nice. I realized when we briefly chatted last week and we were talking about pickleball, and I was like, oh, we should totally play sometime, not realizing that I'm like a duper level 2 and you're probably like a duper level 5. And I was like, you probably found that insulting that I asked to play with him.
No, he's not like.
I'll play with anyone. Pickleball, you can play with anyone. Yeah, it's a great game that way. It's not so barrier like tennis would be. So
Tennis is not a great sport for that reason. Like you cannot like have any rally at all until you're quite good. And then, yeah, the tipping point of being like competent at tennis is way too high. But that's why pickleball's so cool.
there was actually a really big pickleball tournament out in Kamloops this last weekend. I don't know if
Yeah.
you heard about that one, Kent.
Yep. One of
Did
our
you go and watch?
no, but if you were playing, I would have. A gym owner, or sorry, a gym member of mine is opening an indoor pickleball franchise here, Pickleplex.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, they're doing a pickleplex in Kamloops?
Yeah. So he's asked me a lot of questions
Sweet,
about
yeah.
some business stuff, but it's because he went and flew out to Red Deer to see that one, I think, like last fall, and he's been into it for a
No,
while.
that would have just been like a month ago. They had the pickleplex in Red Deer just opened up in December.
Yeah, so it was then. Yeah, he went for the grand opening to like check it out, and yeah, it's a cool business adventure. I wince at some of like the numbers because the square footage is sneaky really big. It's like, oh yeah, pickleball's a small little course. I'm like, not. It looks like that outside. It's not inside. But even like as big as my gym is, you only can fit like 2 courts if the walls are knocked down. But
yeah,
yeah, so I'll just give some context on why we're having guests and why James came to mind quickly. So this is kind of like a playground for myself and Amy for just she might view it a little bit differently. She's naturally quite good at like camera presence and like doing like selfie Instagram stories and things like that. And I have no problem speaking in front of groups or like I don't get any stage fright. If I had to speak in a couple thousand people, I think I could do it. I just I have this like hurdle of like recording, clicking publish and putting stuff up there. And then it's not like I just want to spew advice about gym ownership or coaching or anything like that. But I acknowledge there's probably some pretty good things I can help with people in my space with coaching and gym ownership because I know I do a pretty good job alongside my team. And then, so we kind of exercise quite a few of those scenarios. And I think we can continue to do so. And then I just want to get a little bit more comfortable with my charisma, camera chops, and articulation and storytelling ability. In conjunction with that, I thought like I kind of independently, I was connecting some dots on my background on where I've gotten to and just being like really thankful for some people that have helped me. I started kind of making a list of people I just have sent some nice messages to on probably out of nowhere, like a couple hundred words probably at least on just my perspective at the time and now. And I know it was pretty touching for them to read. So that felt pretty good. One of the people that I sent a message to, and then after I sent it to her, I was like, she should come on my podcast. And so her name is Tracy Simmons, and she was my first ever. Well, she didn't coach me directly, but she was the head coach of the Claresholm Kraken Swim Club. And then so I'm born in like October '88. So in 1994, Claresholm had an outdoor pool still, and the one that they have now was built in 1995. So I did summer club when I was 5, and then I just tried to do like flutterboard to the deep end and stuff. And one of the coaches, his name was Chad, was like a lifeguard. When I was reflecting on it, because like Trent McKee, right, or Ethan's older brother. Well, he's my like best friend and my cousin, so I still talk to him all the time. And then whenever things come up, I'm like, man, if you like ever like see Tracy, because his mom is still friends with her Tracy because they were teachers together in Claresholm. I'm like, you gotta tell her like Kent like lights up when her Tracy's name comes up because there's so much like I would. That's why I want to talk to her even more. Some really good things that she did as a coach that it links all the way to Committed Club, which like stuff I do in my gym now, things that I think are important, which I may have discovered, but she did some really good things. And she had coached and like or swam summer club in Claresholm, and then she swam at U of A, and then started teaching in Crow's Nest Pass. This coach Crow's Nest Pass there, probably like late '80s, early '90s. And then she has a daughter and son. Her daughter's like a year older than me, and her son was 2. There's like this little group of Claresholm families that were kind of like getting into it when she started being head coach. Because I think that Claresholm Kraken Swim Club prior to that kind of time was called Piranhas. It must have been defunct for a while, kind of like what Medicine Hat Clubs was, right? Where they just didn't have a summer club for a while. So I think she revived it. And then 1990, the indoor pool opens up. And then I remember that year, there's this kid in 8 and under 25 meter backstroke. He was 2 years older than me. I was 6. He got a bronze medal at provincials, which was like the first medal in like that club's history at provincials. It was like, whoa. And then the following year, in 1996, I was 7, and Trent and this kid named Jarrett Seaman were 8, and this other kid that was actually lived on my street, he was deaf, was also 8. And we had this really pretty good 8 and under relay. So as we know, if you have like 4 decent boys in an 8 and under category or one of those little kid categories, they can be pretty good. So I remember my parents didn't know how the sport worked yet. They had booked a flight or a trip to Hawaii with their friends. And then this is one of the many things when I asked Tracy, I'm like, you must have had a conversation with my parents. Tracy taught with my mom. My mom taught like grade 1, and Tracy taught kindergarten and Claire some. So it's a very tight-knit little thing, right? You must have been like, you have to get Kent to Edmonton. So my grandma took me and my sister up there, and we ended up getting a silver medal in the 4x25 freestyle relay. Jarrett won 8 and under 25 meter freestyle gold that year. And it was like this big, like, one of the many things that Tracy did that we were good at was educate parents about the sport. So you need to get you got to get the kid there. And if you guys recall, do you remember how like psycho I was about trying to get kids to regionals and provincials? Posters on the board and like every email counting down. This is why. I had people write testimonials like the cops and all these parents that went just for relays. But I believe I put my story into like, went up there, got a medal. It was like unforgettable experience and probably carved out the whole rest of my love for this provincials thing with my teammates. I was only 7 at the bottom of my age group year, but the next year I did pretty good and just barely missed getting a medal. But Tracy would have like the Claresholm local press, like all the small towns had papers, a lot of them. They would come every Monday and then do write-ups and then do all the aggregate medals and things like that. Because Claresholm had this very weird talent pool, but largely because I think Tracy did a good job of everyone buying in. Like almost every single kid went to every single meet. So then, which was always perplexing to me when I coached Lethbridge at first on these kids that would they'd swim in May and June, and their family would just like leave in July and August. Like, what? No, I'm not doing this. Why would you do that? Not going to meet? What are you doing? And but then so the paper it would educate people on the history. So like when this other kid got their first bronze medal ever, it's like, oh, it's possible. Next year, kid got a gold and we got a silver relay medal, and it had a cannonballed from there. And then she would put them all up in the display case at the pool, and just really was like a pioneer of summer swimming in that town. And that's why it's always been, I think, a pretty good club pound for pound talent wise, because of a lot of what she originated there. So we'll talk about how you and I do write-ups. That's a big part of it, because I think it's it helps people read oh, that's cool. And it gets people on board believing that they can do it. And then, in smaller towns stuff, when it's on the paper, we had this big thing, because after provincials, there was no swim practice, but we had this big thing. They came to elementary school and took pictures of us and interviewed the little kids that we were at the time. The other thing that I did, and this is what I complimented Tracy on, and then once I've done this, you can start talking. So as you know, but I'm just saying for anyone non-swimming, in summer swimming in Alberta, you can do 4 individual events at a weekend. So you can get a maximum of 4 best times individually. So what she would do, even though at the time I was like a kid that could get aggregate medals at pretty much every single swim meet I ever went to, and I was, I'm used to that, and you don't really realize that there are kids that don't get aggregate medals that deserve praise and recognition for improving. And certainly the aggregate medals and records and stuff need to be applauded. She would go, because there was no Meet Mobile, or even the ASSA database wasn't up until 1999 or 2000. So she would go through the results manually and then look at the best times, and then individually small little Ziploc baggies. You get 4 best times, you would get 4 sour gummy worms, 5-cent candies. You get 3 best times, you get 3, 1, etc. And then she would kind of do a recap on Mondays before we got in the pool. And then, but the sour gummy worms were very memorable as this thing, as this routine thing that she did, which was a pretty cool message that the best times are what is really important, or I need to acknowledge that, and you're not going to get a medal for it, and that's okay. And you can still give the shout out to the kids that get medals. And so that belief on my coaching was, and I cringe at a lot of coaches that get tunnel vision on just the fast kids, and that's at every level. I would say it was at summer club, you see it a lot with younger coaches, or when I coached in Ontario, all these middle-aged men think this one kid will be their meal ticket if they make the Olympics. But I think if you should reward improvement and hard work and good characters, and obviously, and then the rising tide lifts all boats. So if the fast kids are going to be fast, a great environment can enhance that. And then so when you guys were when we were coaching Orcas, I obviously would love to see the gold medals and the race wins and the records go down, and the provincial titles. But a lot of it was dangled on the swim meet attendance percentage, best time percentage, and that's how I re-altered a lot of the awards with that club too, to be it just makes it attainable for anybody. And then ultimately, if you come a lot, if you come 5 or 6 days a week, try hard, and have a good environment, you go to every single swim meet, you're probably going to be pretty fast. And I use Andrea Katch as the ultimate example of that, which I've told you guys about, but we can talk about her later. As just come, have fun, and work hard, and you will change the trajectory of your swimming. And I apply that same principle with TCSE. And I've always believed in this, like if you just like load your gym walls with like, oh, the best Fran time or the best Murph time or the high average bench press and the top 5, and you like highlight the results all the time, and that's your main thing, you're automatically isolating a lot of your environment and your membership, even though it's not even really a competitive sport at its roots. As adults, we're just there to be in shape. But there's a nice competitive outlet, which is certainly part of it. The reason why I have my championship banners on the gym, which you guys have seen, of the committed club, is because you can like I want people to come. I don't care if you're like out of shape or you were out of shape at one point for sure, or you're like can't snatch a lot or whatever. If you come 12 classes a month, everyone can do that and feel part of like that championship mindset. And ultimately, you're becoming 12 times a month for a couple of years. And you try hard and you have a good attitude, you'll probably be pretty good at CrossFit for your age or for your level, and definitely improve. So when I was like typing this thing to Tracy, I'm like I was trying to like, this is my 37-year-old context. I'm like, you were killing it. Like I knew you were a good coach as a kid. I always looked up to you, and all these other stuff I imagine you had to deal with, which I'm curious to ask her. But these are like rooted in my business and my belief system. And I hope I would have found that without her. But definitely at that age, when you're like sold on this story, like just getting best times, even though I was a kid getting medals, it's a really nice message to try to employ when you start coaching and then ultimately build a business like myself. So I just wanted to know what you guys, James can go first because he's the guest, but your kind of perspective on that, on like, if you get what I mean on the best times, or it's for everybody and we are going to applaud that, and then how it resonates and like trickles into kind of tricking people to get fast and win races too.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a little bit about this, just like the foundational part of it. And I came into it a bit late because I was 13 or 14, right? When I came to club. So I guess I'm more curious with James of like, you started way before me.
Well, not necessarily on my head coaching though, because I only head coached for 1 year and then you guys joined. And then James, were you in my group 2009?
I don't know.
Yeah, you were. 2008, I coached the older kids, but it wasn't a head coach. And then 2009, you guys moved up into the group. And then 2010 was the year Amy and them came down.
No, that sounds right. Did you swim, James, because your parents put you in it as something to do? Or did you have a kind of similar foundational experience that you're like, oh, this is a reason why I want to do it and keep going with it and stuff like that?
No, yeah, I don't have that same kind of background as Kent had. From my standpoint, my parents, it was mostly my mom pushing it because my dad can't swim at all. But she just wanted us to have water safety and be safe if we were at like a lake or out with friends or at the pool on a school trip. So that it all just came from like I want my kids not to drown at a school field trip kind of foundation. And then I made a lot of really good friends through swimming. And I'm someone who played nearly every sport under the sun, and you just you gravitate to what's cool. You gravitate to a coach that's built a really big community. You gravitate to where your friends are. And I think that's what kind of pushed me more into swimming rather than other sports, especially into my like teenage years, when for a lot of people swimming wasn't cool. Who wants to go out to a Claire's home or Fort McLeod for Saturday every weekend through your summer? But I mean, when there's a community and there's like a kind of general goal that everyone's kind of working around, whether it be best times, whether it be breaking records for the most people you've had at an event, everyone kind of gets on board and you feel its importance and you just want to be part of it. So what started as water safety ended up as like a real big passion. And that's something I credit a lot to Kent for kind of building the foundation of what the Orcas really was and creating a really meaningful team. And I see the exact same thing when I visit his gym now in Kamloops. He's just kind of doing the same stuff and creating like importance where everyone kind of feels like they're kind of a valued member. So
yeah, that's cool. So, and I don't want to get off topic, but next time we talk or whenever I see you, I got to tell you about this next gen thing I'm making for my youth program. It's like levels for fitness testing and like a little like swim meet template for CrossFit events and different levels and points and stuff for kids. It's sick. I'll just send it to you later because that'll be like an hour conversation.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, and it
So
basically
good.
was talking about like not gamifying, but like, you know, having a reason why kids in CrossFit should have like reasons to keep coming and level up and challenge and stuff and all that. And there's really not a program like that exists in Canada right now for CrossFit in general. Like if you just want to level up and get better at actually like CrossFit, the sport itself. Yeah, so it's cool. But I would argue your point in saying that swimming wasn't cool. A lot of people did think swimming was not cool, and you're right.
Let me add, before you go. This is what I thought though, because it's not cool because no one else is doing it. Because I remember when I coached 2009 at the group that I had, there was like, I can pull it up, but I don't have it in front of me. But there's almost everyone was like 15 and under because we had this little like gap of older kids staying because it was, man, it sucks. Then like the tipping point, like come and it's fun and you go to the meets, and especially the guys girls relationship could really like bond because there's like kind of that fun energy. And then by my last year there was like 30 kids and the youngest was 15. But when I first started I had 12-year-olds in my group because I was the oldest kids in the club, and you guys just stayed. And then it was cool because there was like a big group to hang out with and it felt social rather than like the one older kid that was there. Because like I coached Brent in 2008, I wasn't the head coach yet, but I coached that older group and he was in grade 12, but he was like the only grade 12 kid still swimming.
Yeah, I would say people look at it and think it's not cool. It's kind of a lame sport. It's not like hockey or whatever, but just for that reason, you're getting into that like 12, 13, 14, and everybody's just half naked hanging out on the pool deck all the time. I mean, it's a pretty good reason to come, honestly. But we talked last time about, you're like, oh yeah, all these like silly romances. And I was like, no, we didn't do that at all, Ken. Like that was not a thing. We didn't do that. But so you swam since you were little. And then did you notice kind of like a shift, or as you got older into that older kids group from 10, 11 until 12, 13? I feel like my biggest takeaway from Orcas, just even going from Nanton to Claresholm then to Lethbridge, was there was such like a bigger sense of responsibility of, I wanted to be there and I wanted to perform well and I wanted to work hard, because there's this expectation set that you're here for a reason. And if you're going to be disruptive and whatever, then get out and leave. Like, why are you here? And so did you feel kind of that shift going to that older group, or just feeling even, I guess, differences of like that underage group going to Kent's group? Did you feel that transition as a coach in Orcas?
James like was with the same club the whole time and went through with his group of friends. And the club had a relatively big turnover of coaches because it's largely university kids that take over. Like Glenn was like, he's one on my list to like have talked to and send him a big message that I haven't yet. He was only head coach for 2 years. And so you would have had like an assortment of coaches. I could probably guess a few of them, but he
was only head coach for 2 years, hey?
Yeah, 05 and 06.
I definitely remember like he had done an amazing job with the club, and
there's
left like a long lasting reputation. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I learned some things from him directly because I was coaching little kids under him. He's has a really like natural good leadership and communication skills, because like he's quite a bit older than me. Like when he's like 24 and I'm 16, when you're 24 or 22, and even when I was coaching, how you guys perceive me, I was still pretty young, like just kind of figuring it out. But it's pretty cool, the canvas that you kind of have to really run a small business for like 4 months. And the parents just kind of like, if you have good rapport and some good results and proof of it, they kind of let you do what you want. It really gave me like my thought idea process to be a business person was through coaching too.
Yeah, you're right. To me, coming from like those smaller town teams and then coming to Lethbridge is a big cultural shift just because it was a bigger team. But I feel like even just those few years in the group and the excitement we had going to provincials and the excitement of the club and how big it was getting and stuff like that, maybe it wasn't very different for you going from like a younger to like that older group. But so many of my coach takeaways and how I coached after that and how I coach CrossFit now and stuff like that, there was a lot of influence of just being coached by Ken, I guess, in those times. And I just wondered if you had similar experiences or if it changed how you coached Lethbridge after and stuff like that. But because it's pretty unique that you and I went through the same program. And like I said, when last week, it feels like it's a 10-year high school reunion, like chatting again. We went through this iconic high school experience together, kind of just from summer swimming.
Here, I'll just tee up James on something he can probably just go off the cuff on, and then he can elaborate from there. So like the best time thing was important to me. And then I would always do write-ups on, like, I would send them to the Lethbridge Herald, but I would also type them up into our webpage because the club didn't really have a webpage that you could like create like blog posts on. But I thought it's like similar to my history building. It's important to educate your membership and people that are following their kids or whatever, like grandparents, on like kind of news of the club. I always want to be fair. And it's important, like if somebody breaks a record or gets a gold medal, you should say that. But all my write-ups, and James did the same thing, was I would, in addition to the medals and if we won the meet and things like that, I would say perfect swim meets, which 4 for 4 best times, the 4 gummy worms for us. on the write up on like, if you got 4 for 4, you could be the slowest kid there, but you got 4 for 4, you get a shout out in an article. And I would also shout out any kid that attended their first ever swim meet with the Orcas and made sure that was like kind of highlighted. And that was before, like, this was my last year was 2013, so Instagram really hadn't taken a big hold, but we pushed it through to Facebook, and then James did a good job putting it on Instagram eventually too. So James, just go off on like, you link, now that I've linked it back to why I did the gummy worm thing. Like, obviously you didn't do it just because I did and you're copying it. You did it because you also thought it was important.
Yeah. So the meet write-ups, I thought it was the coolest thing every meet when Kent would publish those. You'd finish your meet and you'd always be waiting to see like whose name was showing up for the aggregate medals, whose name was going to show up for a perfect meet. You're wondering whose pictures he was going to throw up there, because we had a bunch of kind of photographer parents. So we had a huge selection of photos to pick from. So it was always like, you're always trying to be that one to get that sweet shot that's going to show up on the page. So yeah, it was a big thing for a lot of people when the articles would be released. And I always remember like kind of refreshing my phone. I knew at that time when when Kent would be releasing the articles, so I always kind of look for it. And I carried that forward. I remembered how kind of like it made things really cool. And I know like a bunch of the parents were following along with it. So I just, when I was head coach, I wanted to push that forward too. In every article too, something I added that Kent would do if there was some subtle or not so subtle drama between some different clubs, we'd maybe put it into the title of the article.
Yeah.
Like, Orcas capture net despite home club like limiting their swimmers.
Your own media company, because it's like, I would say like Orcas silence critics and just like the subtle shots, but it creates but it's education, and you can express how you feel without being like, you can read between the lines and like what is important to you. So when they read it, it's like, yeah, like he's right. Like, this is why it's important to us to go to these meets. And like, it's this little thing. I'm like, it's important. It's how I recalibrated a lot of the awards to be, instead of like coach's award or most improved. Well, and then, pick a kid and then you get accused of favoritism. Like, you're just really painting yourself into a corner there. But there's performance stuff on like actual like accumulation of points at provincials. So you have to like accumulate points towards the team's total. And you have to go to provincials. If you don't go, I don't care. Like, you're not getting that award. I don't think you get any award in the club unless you went to regionals.
Well, you did a bunch of other stuff too. You did the best times. Percentage. You did attendance awards.
Yeah, by
you
percentage.
Had like attendance percentage. Yeah.
And I didn't decide who won the awards. People did. And then and I've created like Google Docs, and all the assistant coaches would plug in their attendance into the Excel sheets I made to calculate the percentage, because the older kids swam more practices total. And then I remember, and then it just like, this is why it's important. This works. And there'd be a correlation like, wow, like the fastest kid or the girl winning the 17 and under trophy also had the best attendance in the club. Like, well, that's what you want. Come.
And then you're throwing that in, like something you do, something that I do. Like, you're throwing that in the articles. So then these families that are like, well, why isn't my kid on the relay? Or why don't you think my kid's going to qualify this year? And you're like, well, your kid is showing up 1.5 days a week.
Yeah.
This kid that you're comparing him to is doing 8 swim sessions a week. Like there's a little bit of difference here, and you're just pushing that through. So pushing like some drama through these articles, pushing like stats that are commemorable or need like praise. Like, this person has like 100% attendance, and look, they've had 4 perfect meets in a row, 16 like best times. Like, that's something we push, and then that'll get your picture in the article.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get all these parents trying to get their kids' pictures in the article too. I had many parents asking me like what do we have to do? Or it's his birthday this weekend. Like, can you put a picture of him if he gets the best time? Stuff like that. So, I mean, just putting out these articles again and again and again, like it creates like this sense of importance, and it also educates everyone to kind of what's going on. So it's not just you fighting for maybe your 50th meet win in a row, but everyone on board is canceling their weekend plans to attend the meet so that they can be part of the team winning number 51, winning number 52. Yeah. It's really something that just unites kind of a collective.
The psychology of it is incredible, because like, and you're not playing games. You're just like, I'm communicating what's important to me. And like, it's not important to me. It's not about me. It's like, I want this team to be a team, a beast, and like fast. But if you're coming and you're not fast, but you're trying, you are a rock star. So to be eligible for the pictures, you have to be mentioned in the article, right? Or it doesn't really make sense. The caption of the photo would be like Cole Warren 6 got 4 for 4 best times at Brooks. And then I know James Kwan got a gold, but I picked Cole today. I don't know. James was in there last week. Yeah. And then so it's similar with this committed club thing that I do. Like I create like importance on it. So I remember when I first put it up, when I took over the gym, we had like software where you check yourself in, and it's important that I check attendance just for like business, right? If like classes are poorly attended, if there's 3 people there all the time, I should get rid of it. Or if there's like lots at one time, should I split it, make 2? And just from baggage from the old gym, like no one would ever check in, even though I created a kiosk, make some incentive. And then it was like commit a club and you get draws, you got to check in. And I didn't check in. Well, you're not getting the draw for the shirt. And then during COVID, I leaned even more into it. I created up like that milestone program. And then I got the banners for commit a club, even though COVID was a weird time. I'm like, I am celebrating these people that are still coming because they embody some very important things to me. And then you get the banner up there and like you hear a few negative comments of just negative people like, oh, who cares? Okay, you care. I'll leave your name out of there next time when you earn it. But then it's really cool because there's some people like, they plan. I've had more flexible rules now where like if you travel, you can validate your workout by if you drop into another gym somewhere and like plug it into our app or Facebook or something. So the whole point is like connecting with others or our stuff. So if you're going to just go for a run while you're in Mexico, no. But if you go to a CrossFit gym, connect with others and have that experience, post about it. It inspires other people like, oh, when I travel, I'll do that. And then they post about it. And like, then the whole committed club rules, people have really like bent their schedules around making it. So to do it 12 months in a row, there's been people like that have had babies and make it work. It's super inspiring. So when people undermine it, I get pretty like mildly emotional because it's like, man, like I am like acutely designing these things to highlight things that are important to me. And there's people up there that have like really made true kind of sacrifices or intention in their life to be part of that. And they're really proud of it. So when people just like scoff at it, it becomes like a pretty quick knee-jerk educational lesson if I hear about it. But it's very parallel to the stuff that we did in swimming with like the stuff up on the wall, like meets. This is how many people went to the meet last year. This is how many people went to meet this year. And you just showcase those statistics to influence people to be part of something. And it's kind of like a gamification thing, but it's very cool on how manipulative is the wrong word because it's truly like the intent is it to be inspiring. But even like, obviously it works with kids, but I have these grown adults that like if they get their committed club sticker or if we forget to put it out for them and they like the stickers, it's like, hey, where's my sticker? Because they love it. It's pretty cool.
Well, it works for everyone. And like, I'm sure you know your numbers, but I know like when I took over as head coach, like it just didn't seem like there was like a huge like community or like big like collective goal or anything. And I think it was like 88 members or something my first year as head coach. And I head coached for 4 years and just basically ran that same sort of psychology that you did in my way, because everyone does it their own way. But I know like by my last year, we had like 183 members in our club. So we had almost doubled the club. And I think it was the same thing with you. I think there was like a big peak. And then after you retired, I know a bunch of like the older kids kind of dropped out and everything. And then the club went into like that downturn. And then it's really good. It's just like your gym. You have to put in the work and you put in the work creating that community. And then the numbers follow and everyone kind of buys in and you see it with commitment, you see it with just the amount of people that want to be a part of it. And it's really impressive to have seen you do it with the Orcas and then with Summit Performance Camps and now with your gym. So yeah.
Well, the cool thing about some of the Orca stuff that is still around today that I'm inspired by other people. Like there was no mini Orcas. If you remember that, like you had to be at least 6 or 5 to join the Orcas at the time. So we created the mini Orcas as more like you have a younger sibling that wants to be in the pool, but it's not appropriate for them to be in the 8 lanes of the other groups. We had that little pool at Fritz Stick that was perfect for it. Like that was my whole invention. I also added the Masters component as well. I don't know if they still ran that.
I think the Masters is done.
That's fair.
I think the Masters is done. Yeah.
It's tough to accommodate and it's tough to coach and schedule. And they were always kind of like an accessory piece, They didn't really like fit like, you can't like yell at them for not coming enough. It's still cool though. And but if you can just sign up as a parent and swim on your own and go to the meets, that's fine. What was the other one? Oh yeah, Orca Cup. Like I'm
Yeah. Did you continue Orca Cup, James?
yeah, it's still going
Oh, yeah,
today,
100%.
which is
Oh, it's
cool.
still going. Yeah.
Amazing.
And because the club at the time, do you remember this? When you were little, they did a thing called Survivor Week.
I do remember
And
that.
it was like all this like stuff in 1 week in July. And it's like, man, this is way too much work for 1 week. And then, but if you're just away that week, you miss the whole thing. So with the Orca Cup, I wanted to create like a series and those countries and the points and all those games I made up. So similar to how I'm making up this like testing next gen. I'll just send it to you. You can glance at it. You just make your own kind of like rules in sport, and then the points are. And then once it's adopted, it becomes like a real thing. So then if I can get it going, if like a Kelowna gym or something wants to use it, sure, then we can have like a little swim meet like across it. But like those Orca Cup games I made up, like the dodgeball one. What was it called?
Pinball.
All the time.
Still a beloved game.
But,
Still a loved game. I'm sure they still run it.
Like,
Everyone loves
I
it.
have every single thing since I've ever had ever made on a computer since 1997. And so I have like the original rule sheet from like 2009 of like pinball, of like the rule, how it works. And then you refine it over the years. But all those other like random games, like it's very similar to like scaling a CrossFit event where because all the kids were mixed in, like my first year, 2009 running it. Actually, okay, now I coached Brent Fikowski in 2009 as well, but you never swam with Brent, right? In his group, 2000. You had
Not in his group.
you must have had Jen for 1 year then, right? Jen Capri.
I don't think I ever swam. I don't think Jen was ever my coach. She coached me like a summer when I was swimming with Spartans, but when I was home from university 1 year. But no.
Anyways, but I remember you had like Brent, and then like I have a vivid memory of like Malcolm Fisher, who was like 6 at the time. Like so you have all the group mixed, so you'd have to go get either a ring or like a 5-pound brick or a 15-pound brick from the bottom. It was like an AMRAP, and you like your team would do points of all the little kids and big kids, but the big kids bricks would be the same scores like the little kids bricks, you know. So but if the little kids got like the big brick, it'd be worth more points. So you try to like strategize on like, okay, can I get the 9-year-old to go get the big brick? Then Malcolm Fisher like got it, and like he like won the event for the thing because he was like this little guy that got the big brick. Is like an iconic moment. Actually, Andrea Catch messaged me about it like 6 months ago because she's like student teaching with Malcolm right now, and they're reminiscing about it because I called Malcolm the brick because of that.
I remember that.
Yeah, but all these little games I made up, I'm sure they make their own little games, but that was kind of the fun part. You make your own little rules and keep like this like scoring grid throughout the whole season. And then we had that final meet at the Orca Cup finale. So it wasn't like a mini meet, it was like a non-sanctioned, like pretty competitive meet, if you remember that. And you had to like strategize on who did what events. And the people like were going best times, like unsanctioned, at the Orca Cup dual meet like a week out of regional. So like that was pretty fun. But it's cool that it still sticks around. And then all the branding stuff I did too is pretty relevant now still too.
That's what I think is cool about it, is like I remember that, and I remember coming into the club and it's so fun, like Orca Cup, you know, we're gonna play some games and stuff, but it was legit and everybody was so into it and into the strategy and into why it made it fun. And like you're saying, you took every game the next level and you made it fair and you explained the reasons why it was this way and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody was on board of it being like this legit challenge and nobody was complaining that it wasn't fun or anything like that. So I just think that because you put so much time and effort into it, it made it the experience that much more legit.
Yeah.
That's what I mean is one of the things of coaching wise that I remember.
I'm interested in James' perspective on this too, because depending on who's listening, like he didn't copy me by any means, but he definitely, I imagine I influenced you pretty well. But we just resonated like a lot of what was important on like, just come to the meets, you know, like go to swim meets. Like, why would you swim back and forth? It's like the worst sport ever unless you go to meets. And then you hang out with your friends and go fast, and then you reward yourself with best times.
Something else that we also did with promoting the meets was promoting wearing the Orcas gear. That's something that I think between your head coach and when I was head coach, and then after me, like when I've gone to meets here, I've noticed like a huge difference. Like when both of us were there, it was all the kids were wearing their Orcas caps and they were wearing Orcas sweaters and Orcas shirts. And you go to a meet like a couple years ago or last summer for regionals, I forget when we went.
I think you texted me about it.
Yeah, 3/4 of the Orcas weren't wearing their Orcas caps. They were wearing like a blue cap or a red cap, and they weren't wearing the shirts. And it just didn't have like didn't feel like a team. Like I was like, who are you? Like we're just at a meet hanging out, and they didn't have the bleachers like full. Like when Kent was there, when I was there, it was a big thing, especially for finals of regionals. Like we have everyone standing on the bleachers. We do a let's go Orcas chant or a let's go whoever. If we had one person in the heat, everyone was saying let's go for them. And yeah, I just feel like that's been lost a little bit, and it just comes down to like an effort thing. If someone at the top is willing to put in the effort to create that kind of that sense of importance, everyone feels it, and everyone buys in, and everyone follows along. And like from our standpoint, I don't think it takes much effort. It more so it makes the job more fun. It's something that like if you really want to see the job or the team go somewhere, you just put in how you think you're going to be able to get there. And if you put that in, if you're passionate about it, people follow. And if you don't really care what people are wearing, then they don't care to show up to the meets. You get 30% attendance rate, and you get kids not wearing your clothing or your caps. So
I feel like that shows up in structure a little bit, right? Like I definitely remember that of being the first year that I was there, and I liked this one cap. I wanted to wear it, and Kent's like, go get an Orca cap, not mad, but just these are the rules. This is what you're going to do. And I'm like, oh,
well,
shoot,
then
yeah,
little
okay.
shitheads would play games and like not wear it on purpose. And then they're like, oh, I see my race. I'm like, no. Well, even if I did, I'd be like, no, sorry. What lane were you in? Oh, lane 3. Right beside, were you wearing a cap? Blue one? I'm like, okay, I'm not watching it. Or I would say, I'm not, if you wear that cap, I'm not watching. And then it's important. Or like, you come over to me with a non-Orca shirt on and talk to me. I'm like, I'm not talking to you about your race, so you put an Orca shirt on. Bye. Like,
I know, I remember it was like scary, but I think that's a good coach and a good program of any kind. There are some guidelines, boundaries to keep everybody kind of because that's what makes it feel a part of the experience. And I think that's where you were tough to make us do that, but it led to such community because all of us were matching, all of us were the same. We knew it was standard to put a shirt on to come talk to you. So, and I hadn't experienced that before either.
well, but it's important that I enforce that from the older kids because like because I had such like a lifelong obsession with sports and like professional sports and branding and things like that. But there's like that identity. And also, but when I was a little kid, like going to provincials, like as a Claresholm kid, you'd see like Hama. Remember, Hama was like scary. Like they had purple.
Scary. So scary.
Well, but I believe that we also turned into a scary club eventually because you have like, oh, those, or whatever, however you describe the colors or what it was. It's this recognition of like, well, that club's fast, but or you're part of something, or we're swimming for the team. Like it's individual sport for sure, but you're part of what we're trying to build here. And but it's important that I do that because my like frustration with trying to impose the same thing when I was assistant coach in Ontario and then in Kamloops, like I fucking can't stand it. Like all these, like they'll get like the cool like, oh, BC provincials 2019, and like with the whatever screening that they do. And then like, yeah, cool, wear the shirt, but it would just be this little mix match of like sweaters and not Kamloops stuff or not Markham stuff. And then if the head coach didn't like make the older kids do it, you didn't really have a lot of weight to your words to tell like the second group to do it. I could not stand it because it just seemed like this Mickey Mouse like hillbilly club, which is super frustrating.
Yeah.
But also the parallels to CrossFit is like when I first started because I hadn't bought people so much clothes yet. Like you go to a lot of these CrossFit gyms, they'll wear like a Rogue shirt or something, like just not like a not branded gym shirt. And like if you're dropping in, you walk in, like who's the coach? Like is it the person wearing the gym shirt, or like, how do you know if they're the coach or not? They should at least have the shirt on. So that's a rule of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But it would look bad if I'm like, yeah, you guys, if you're on the clock, which is this one of my rules, if you're on the clock coaching or personal training, you have to have a TCSU shirt on. I give you guys like dozens of shirts. You know how good I am about giving shirts away. And then, so there's weight to my words because you think I ever coach a class without a TCSU shirt on? No chance. Or else you're full shit. So if the head coach says that, and then he lets his older kids get away with it, and then the assistant coach be like, man, I can't get these guys to do anything.
Again, like the structure is what makes community, I think. I don't think you can have a super strong community without a little bit of structure, because I think that's a big, maybe overarching theme, but I just think you've seen it work so well in all the programs you've run and do and stuff. And so, yeah, it's cool to follow and cool to take that belief into like the other things I've done and stuff like that, because you establish that as a kid, as a teen in that way. So,
but James, taking time to write all those articles is a huge undertaking. It would have been nice to have like AI at the time to help you, just to rewrite it, because you could just like write a really disgusting rough draft, click, and then fix it up, and you could prompt it like, word it this way when I talk about the 4x4 best times, etc. But the amount of time in digging through those photos and all that it's not easy
Takes
work.
time. Takes time and takes effort. Yeah.
But then because it serves such a good message, is what we already talked about. It's pretty cool and worth it. It just no one does it though. Like especially because it's so easy just to write like a social post. There's a little bit more in like a traditional kind of article writing that I think you can convey. And also, like I wasn't CC'd on them all. But this is what I think Brad Morey was really good at it, but Glenn Morey, when I was coaching, I was in high school, like grade 11, grade 12, when I coached the little kids, and then I took a year break, and then I coached the older kids as an assistant when Glenn was gone, and then I took over in 2009 when I was 20. But he was really good about sending emails on like what's going on, messages, because you can influence your membership that way too by communicating, and you were always really good at that too. But I think a lot of coaches just like
we get a glance.
Yeah, and wags.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of swim coaches, like the young swim coaches will come in and just do probably a pretty good job on deck, but the parents don't know anything about the sport, and it really helps like your stance and stature and respect if you can kind of communicate, this is what we're doing, this is important, this is what we're doing, this is important, this is why, and context for everything, and just selling. You're just selling the experience. And I didn't want to I always thought it was a compliment if I was ripping on somebody for not coming to a swim meet. It's like, if I had said nothing to you and didn't care if you were coming to regionals or not, you should be insulted, because I probably don't want you there, right? Because I remember and we can get into this in a second, not like going to regionals, and it's in Lethbridge. Like the provincials, I get getting to Edmonton if you qualify. It's a bit more of a trip, but it's 5 hours. Come on, and then if you make it, because I hated the sentiment, oh, just a relay, I'm going to go for a relay. Like that was one of the defining experiences of my life, going on a relay. I was from Claresholm, and that was like the first time I've ever been to West Edmonton Mall, and we got a medal at provincials, which is like the third medal in the town's history and stuff. It's pretty cool. As a 7-year-old, that's like really formative, and then it builds into something else, and you're just a part of something. And then, so I remember when I took over. Do you remember that chart I had up on the wall each year with like previous meets? Because there was that gap from Glenn. Essen Hat or something had to swim meet before they folded, or there was like the club was like not tiny. Like when I took it over, we became bigger. Like it was like 12 or 13 kids or something at Mezen Hat swim meet in the middle of the season. What? We have 80, 90, 100 plus kids. Why wouldn't you go? It just never made sense to me. Like, how is swimming fun at all unless you go to the swim meets?
Well, I remember you took like as many stats, right, as possible, like we were talking about. And as soon as we started getting 10 plus, 20 plus, like consecutive meets won.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it started getting high, we've won this many consecutive in a row. Don't mess it up. You better be there to keep the streak going. That was a huge motivator too.
Yeah, that was cool.
His streak didn't last very long though. I heard one of the next head coaches took it down actually.
Because the first meet, it was the Claresholm meet of the next year, wasn't
well,
it?
yeah. Well, one of the next head coaches, I think the very first one after you lost a meet, but then I think the head coach after ended up breaking that record. So.
Was that you, James? How many
years did coach for?
4.
So how would you have broken it if I did it for 5 years though?
I think I'm pretty sure we broke the all-time record with some of Megan's, and then into
that's
mine.
Inflated.
No, come on.
Okay.
I never lost a meet.
Yeah.
I never lost a meet. So
wait, Kent, what was your record for most meets consecutively won? Because is that including provincials or no?
No, it was regular season, we would call it.
Okay.
Because I don't think I don't know if we didn't like count like summer games either, because it wasn't like a ASSA meet.
No.
I think we missed the gross at the very first meet I ever had coached, and then we didn't lose one after that.
That's crazy.
Pretty good winning percentage. It's a pretty good winning percentage.
Yeah. But yeah. I wasn't carrying over I didn't break a winning streak, because there was no winning streak when I was around. There's 17 kids going to swim meets.
Right.
No.
And James, you're saying you didn't lose a single meet the whole time you coached? Not a single.
I did not. I did not lose a single meet. There was one meet that Region F tried to make me lose, because they said that the winner of Region F meet would be the net team winning team, and it went down to like a big there was a big fight about it. And then we took the ASSA rule book, and the ASSA rule book stated that the winner of the regionals was the team with the highest gross points. And the whole like Region F board at that time was all like from the small towns, and they were trying to make it anything that, but we wouldn't even get a banner. Like they didn't even order a banner for it. And I found it out through the meet manager that there was no gross award for Region F regionals. And I had to like make a fuss about it and be like, well, it's literally an ASSA like bylaws or rules or regulations that the team that gets the most points at regionals wins regionals. So they had to like fast order a banner for us.
I would just print my own anyways. Like, okay, like have fun. Like again, I'll write an article slaying absolutely the whole like what the leg you're standing on, and then print my own. Can I just show you guys one thing, and then I want to get into this net thing and how it kind of relates to this whole like participation thing. There's 2009 regionals. This is like my first year head coaching. There's no like the logo changed every year, the shirt colors change every year, and there's no like here's the current head coach actually. Right? And but then this was like 2013, my last year, Lethbridge Meter regionals. Also, there's the head coach again.
That's sweet.
Jens Rodman. So like, but it just like, it looks like a swarm of people that are same team, the same mission. This is like, was a good year, first year learning lots, but I'm like, there has to be a better way to like look like a real club. And I think it all just kind of complements each other when you do things like that.
Totally.
Because I made this branding guideline document, which was kind of ahead of my time. Like I did that when I was like 21 or 2. I had this PDF. It's like fonts, how to style it, logos, and they still use it, which is cool.
They canceled your website that
I know
you ran for multiple years after.
They need to at least like unearth the articles. I have them all saved, but also
yeah, we had all the history. All the history was on the website.
Like all the record breakers, previous rankings of provincials, and also I looked the other day. They don't have their club records up there. At least get that up.
Yeah, that should have been like I passed down the records to the next head coach, and
yeah, that's I'm like
pretty sure
swimming 101.
Passing it along, but
any team needs to make sure they're keeping track of that, but it should be more published because remember I always print out with the big club records on the board too, or the big like below the meet attendance. Because the Spire, and it'd be like 1995 or whatever. Remember Chris Haney?
Yeah,
like his son was swimming on the club, and he's like, yeah, that's an old 87 or whatever the record was. No one's broken it yet, and create some history and inspiration. So when you get it, it's pretty cool. Especially when all it's similar to how that experience in Clare, someone like the first kid got a medal, and then the first time like Brent broke a provincial record in 2008 was the first like Lethbridge Orcas record in a while, and then 2010 we had like that lots, and then it was just like you got to believe, and it was like this trailblazer of like records. It helped when the events expanded, but there were some like legitimately old records and lots of relay records that were just smashed, which was pretty cool.
Well, same idea with just like medals for the top groups. Like when I was really young, like the tops, like the old kids, like it was like pretty unheard of to see like that many provincial medals. But then like as soon as like one person started getting them, like the seal was broken, and then just like a year last year's there, we were medaling like we were medaling in every event except for me. I just kept going fourth, but your whole top group is medaling in every event. So yeah.
But in 2009, I think we had like 3 medals or something.
Yeah.
In 2008, Brent didn't go to provincials because he had a family reunion. That's why he had to break the provincial record at regionals. And we might have had like 2 or 3 medals. And then I don't even remember the numbers. Like it was like in the 50, 60, 70 medals at provincials by the end there, wasn't it?
Oh, it had to be. You had at least 20, 25 kids with multiple medals coming out of provincials, like each, like it was insane.
But it did
like even though I was fourth in all the individual events, I still walked away with multiple medals and relays.
Yeah, so. And it helped when in 2010 ASSA added those age groups and the events a little bit, that there was more medals available. Yeah. And then when you were coaching the mixed relays and things like that, adds to the table. It's still cool, and I'm glad they did that because there's more kids swimming. Okay, before you go, I want to just rant about the net thing because this is, I think, important. As like this is the principle of it, and this I have a good perspective on it because I was from the small town net club winning club. Because when I swam in Claresholm as a kid, our team was like a net trophy machine because we didn't have a lot of kids, but they were all like super invested. Like the trophy thing was almost every single weekend we'd win a net. And the net at its core, how it works if you're not a swimmer, you accumulate points at these meets. Like first place is worth like 9 points, and then eighth place is worth 1, and it goes down. And then your team accumulates points that way. And then there's like a standing. So obviously, if you have a big team, you have an advantage on accumulating more points, which there's some good parts about that. The net is designed to reward smaller teams because the point total is divided by how many swimmers you have in the meet. Now, my issue with that is it's good to have a small team on board, but you can game it. And how you game, and it's happened explicitly, how you game a net trophy win is by you telling your slow kids to stay home. The worst possible scenario of that was in 2005. There's an art club of Medicine Hat, like a coach, and it's like 3 boys and 2 other families added up to 10, which is the minimum number to divide by. And they made this little like mini superstar club at Medicine Hat. And because some dumb Region F based board that had influence at the provincial level, the provincials in 2005 was for net. So the Medicine Hat Waves won provincials by the rules that year because they had this stupid 2000 trophy way of winning provincials. And it was like, okay, you're not like growing the sport at all. You're just like encouraging clubs to tell shitty kids to stay home, or even worse, make a new club with just your fast boys that are genetically the swim coach's kids and some other fast kids. So like when it would, if you're just like naive to how sports work, if you're like, oh yeah, well, big clubs will just win meets. And like, so our mission as Orcas was like, yeah, like bring as many kids as possible to the meet because we want them to experience and be part of this thing. And we want them in the meet by accumulating points. So if you have a problem with that, grow your club, communicate with your community better, retain them by rewarding them for coming and doing best times. If they come to a lot of meets, they'll probably like it more, and then, but then these small town idiots would be like, oh, they're only good because they have lots of swimmers. Like, it's like, but there's a lot of times, and you did it too, where we would have by far the most kids to meet and we'd win the net. When you won the gross in the net, it was like this nice, like, let's chuck the net out because I don't care about it. I remember one year at regionals, there's a family from a small town, and regionals cuts out 6 and under. It's not a category there. It's only 8 and under. So if you're 6, you can go to regionals, but you're going to get smoked by the 7, 8-year-olds, place wise. I remember the parents that they had to come to my camps told me that the coach told the little 6-year-old brother of the 3 other siblings that were at meet just to not swim because he wasn't ready for regionals. Really, the reality was he was told to not swim because a 16-year-old attending and having fun with his friends and his family would hurt the net score, which is a case in point why it's a stupid award. So instead, what they should do, like what they did at provincials, and Mike Vandenham was behind this, they established medians. I think it evolved now, but at the time it was small and large teams for provincial gross points. And I think they actually ended up making a median based on club enrollment. So then there's not any like deterrent of like build your club and try to get to the top end of your category, but don't just game it or like discourage people from coming. And that's because I think it's like a very like borderline. I don't know if evil is the right word, but telling like kids not to go to a meet because your underlying reasons because you want to win this net trophy, it's horrible. And that's why I have such a big passionate problem with it. And these small towns that don't understand how sports work or how developing kids work or how get people to be a part of something, out of like many things that enrage me about swimming, that's near the top of the list of that net shit. And this is coming from like the ultimate net trophy winning age 6 to 12 and having that perspective that it was cool for small teams to get something, but it's the wrong message. Do you have any counter arguments?
Agreed.
Devil advocates, like that's probably what me and you bonded about the most was how dumb that was. Like, oh my god, like
completely agreed.
But also it creates like that.
I love winning that. I love winning that.
When you win both net and gross, because no one else would do that because we won gross every time.
We'd be outnumbered. We go to Brooks or Pincher Creek or Clarisome, actually, even in my time, and sometimes they'd have more swimmers than us, and they'd be like 70 to like 57, and like, oh gosh, we'd crush them and win both trophies. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Those were the best.
Well, because the medium-sized teams, the home team, like if they're hosting a meet, would usually have everyone there and have an advantage on the gross. But because the streak created pressure, like
what did create pressure?
Yeah, because you're like, oh, like guys, you got to come to the meet. Like we need to keep this going. It's cool.
I don't know. I don't actually remember who the coach was after you left, but so I coached Nanton right in 20. what would it have been?
You help.
2013 and 2014 or 2014-15, 2 years. And we won the gross at our home meet. And that was a big deal for us because we grew our little teeny towny club of Nanton from like 20 swimmers to like 67 or something like that. And our home meet, we won gross 6-7. And yeah, that was a big deal for us. So I don't know who the coach was of Orcas, but we did win that one year. But I also agree with you that net is stupid.
Yeah, well, the intention's good. Like the small teams certainly deserve an award, like to incentivize for people. No, incentivizing subconsciously or consciously coaches and teams to tell kids to stay home is horrible. It's like horrible. And it's the same mentality when CrossFit, when people are like, I'm trying to get them to sign up for the open, like, oh, you want me in there? I'm not good. You know, when people say that, it's like, no, I just want you to be part of it. It's just like, I like legitimately want you to be part of what we're doing because I don't want you left out. I want you to feel good about yourself. Like this is the whole message. So it's not like this like
totally
weird build my ego up. I just truly want people to be there. So James, I don't know, the CrossFit Open, you know, I used to have kind of mixed feelings on it. Probably I could have had a better attitude. So I just flipped it a couple of years ago. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to embrace this thing. And then so it was the same kind of message. I'm like, just come and do it. So then we've been ranked like I think we're 69th in the world this year, and like third in Canada out of like 12, 13,000 total just for participating. And then
is that net or is that gross?
Yeah. So this is where people would be like, well, they have a lot of people now, but they'll make it like CrossFit Games athletes. It's like, well, that's just a genetic lottery. And often like at an adult level, people could just move to a town and affiliate. You know, Brent just suddenly moved to Kamloops and just affiliated with me just out of ease. It wouldn't be really a product of anything I did. Only 4 people can make the CrossFit Games. So that'd be like a really like really narrow way of looking at it, which I'm sure people would think about it. But if you look at like our general, like our median level of like ability, like there's like as adults, middle-aged people with like kids and stuff, how many people can, like you'll come to a class out of like 16, you know, randomly, but there'd be like 13 or 14 people out of the 16 doing bar muscle ups, which is pretty high level skill. It's not normal, but it's because they've come for 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 days a week and had a good attitude about it. So they don't have like genetic or maybe the discipline combo to be a CrossFit Games athlete, but like the lower tipping point of being like quite fit is definitely there, which I think is just a product of the same kind of messaging that is important to me, but you were always really good at too. Whenever James and I hang out, it's just cool how like, I think I'm 8 years older than you, or 7. You're like February 96.
30. Yeah, I'm 30 now. So.
Yeah. So I'm like 7 and a bit. So we know when I'm 21, you're 14, it's a big gap. But then as you get past that, and same with you, Amy, like as soon as you're past like a certain age, you're kind of like, you can be friends. So James and I actually hang out quite a bit whenever we're in the same town. And we could endlessly talk about the ins and outs of summer swimming because it's just like it's such a beautiful season and the stakes are just so high. Like, for example, this I'll just give it a CrossFit analogy. So when you're a master's athlete, it's like for CrossFit, it starts when you're 35. So, and then 35 to 39, 40 to 44, etc. So when you're 35, you're like, oh, I'm at the top of my age group, which is the inverse of what you're like at as a kid. You want to be on the older side of things. And then, so if you're trying to make a semifinal or the next stage or whatever, like, oh, I missed it. Like, keep trying, but like, it's going to get harder. But when I turn 40, I got my shot. But at least there's that yearly shot at it. But at summer club compared to winter club swimming, summer club has that age thing, which we can get into next time on how important an April or May birthday can influence your life, is because of those 2-year age groups. Like when I was 8, I like barely missed getting medals at provincials, and you have to wait like 2 full years to be at the top of your age group again. So, and there's just like no preliminaries at provincials in Alberta. You just swim finals. I think I got the 4 shots for like one last chance for a record for that age, because you age out, or one shot for an individual medal in your best event. Like the intensity and stakes of it is palpable because you're just so invested for such a short, intense season. Whereas like when in winter club, like there's provincials like 2 or 3 times a year and other big meets all the time. So if you're like, like it's a big deal, but like you don't have to wait that long for the next provincials. So I found the summer swimming always just such like a nerve-wracking experience from a coach and as a swimmer when I was younger. I'm like, But as a coach, I like vicariously, we're just like, oh, it's a lot of races that are a big deal to a lot of these kids. Pretty special sport.
I feel everything. Every like out touch, like we out touched by like a 1/100th, like Morgan Boss out touching Meadow in that 100 fly one year when she came from behind. That was unreal. Felt that one. I felt us getting out touched. Like I feel all the joy and all the heartbreak. So yeah, I know you did too.
I
Crazy.
felt way more stress coaching than I ever did swimming. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't feel any stress when I was a swimmer at all.
That's not true at all.
So never got to me at all. No pressure at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice in my veins.
Oh, yeah. The one thing we've ended the last few episodes with was Kent explaining a few of his well-known nicknames around the gym. So do you have any other nicknames that you were given by Kent in your time other than Kwan Sanity?
Well, I didn't give that one. Sometimes I just make the names popular or stick. But I actually think Jen's called you that. And you made it your Instagram handle.
Yeah, I kind of started calling myself that. And
yeah. Well, Amy's not
it was right around Linsanity. So,
okay, Linsanity. There was this Asian basketball player. He's American, but he was Asian. He went to Harvard, and like he had this like flash in the pan, like unbelievable MBA experience for like 2 weeks for New York. So it was a huge like he was killing it. And it was called Linsanity. Like took the sports world by storm, and so it was around that time. And then so he just embraced being Kwan Sanity, made his Instagram handle. Yeah, but I don't think I coined Kwan Sanity, but he called himself that, so I just kept it going.
And then Jen's just wanted so badly to be called Watt Sanity.
Yeah, which I did for a while because he actually has a little bit of insanity in him, but I like Jen's Rodman a little bit more.
Oh my gosh. The one thing I remember from you, James, is you were like, yeah, I was made into a meme, right? And I was like, what? And then you showed me the picture of you holding the poker cards with the sunglasses.
God, yeah.
And I tried to explain that to somebody, like probably within the last 5 years, being like, yeah, I knew this guy and he was a meme. And anyway, I couldn't find the picture, so maybe you'll have to send it to me. But
it's not there anymore. It's not there. I have screenshots of it. I used to be #1 on Google Images. If you searched poker face fail, my picture was the first one that came up, but it's not hilarious. There anymore. It's on like the 9th page or something now, but it was there for like a decade.
I didn't think I knew about that.
You didn't know about that one?
No.
I'll send you guys the screenshot.
Send the screenshot. All right. Well, great chat. Great insight. I think it's cool to talk to somebody who had a parallel experience to mine, but also different, just being in that gold group. But thanks for coming on, first official guest, and hopefully we'll chat again soon. And yeah, that's our closing for Iron Operations.
Right on. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Kwan Sanity.
Okay, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode. This is Iron Operations, hosted by Amy Tipper and Kent Aitchison. Today's episode was edited and produced by the team at AT Design Studios. If you like the show, hit subscribe and come find us on Instagram at TCSC Kamloops. We'll catch you on the next one. Class dismissed.